All right, thank you so much for staying with Daybreak. Let's get into that conversation. If you go to the corridors of justice, something has changed. They've just resumed after some break or scaling down of operations. Joining me now live from Nairobi on Skype is Honorable Amadi. She's the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary. Thank you so much for making time for us, Honorable Amadi. So what is different that the public will see in court that wasn't there before? Walk me through the process so that nobody is really surprised, from the entrance at the gates to the waiting bay to the registry and then to open court. Who gets in at what time? How many advocates and members of the public?
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you for having me. Yes, the judiciary is different. COVID is still here with us. And as you all know, we have now upscaled our operations starting Monday this week. So what we have done is issue general guidelines to all the court stations, but recognizing that each court is different. Their sizes are different, their nature is different. We have those that are in a compound of their own. There are those that are within government enclaves. So what we've done is just give the courts the leeway to be able to create their own guidelines, but deriving from the basic ones that we have given. So starting Monday this week, everybody walking through the gates of the court or the main entrances of the courts will first have to undergo a compulsory temperature check so that we ensure you're not carrying any illness to the extent that we can. We have supplied all court stations with thermometers. We have also trained the people manning the entrances on what to do, so that if you came through the gate and you had temperature beyond a certain level, then there's a place for you to just sit for another 30 minutes before you can be checked again, so that if you temperature is beyond a certain level, then you will not be allowed into the courts. Yeah. If you're okay, you'll walk through the gates. You'll be able to you'll be shown where to sanitize. We have supplied all the courts with hand washing facilities and sanitizers, so everybody will be expected to go through the sanitizing process. Of course, without a mask, you will not be able to access the courts. In terms of numbers, Trevor, we will. What is happening right now is that for the High Court stations, we have deputy registrars who have been guided on what to do. We have, in civil cases, we have contact numbers and addresses for all our lawyers, all the litigants. So the deputy registrars are calling everybody whose matter was taken out starting March 15th until the time of the upscale. If your matter was taken out, the deputy registrar or the executive officer in the lower courts will call you and tell you when to come to the registry to be issued with a date. And it's not just when you're called, you're given the time to come. That's one of the measures we put in place to ensure that there is no crowding. Yeah. So you'll be given a date and a time. So we are discouraging members of the public to just come in without being invited. Yeah. And saying that for anybody who wants to make an inquiry, we are encouraging email or telephone inquiries. We acknowledge that there are quite a number of our litigants who do not have these facilities. Yeah. And therefore, what we've done is have customer care desks where people can get information. Numbers are restricted right from the entrance so that we only have so many people at a given time. Yeah. If you take a court like Milimani, which is really huge, yeah. Milimani that has ordinarily traffic of over 5,000 people a day, you will not compare it with, say, Kimilili court, yeah. that has a much smaller number. So the respective customer care desks have been guided okay. on how many people they can let in at a yeah. given time. Yes.
So as we stand, what is the backlog of cases right now as we speak? How many cases are pending?
We are still at over 300,000 cases. From the time that COVID started, we were at about 349,000. About 10,000 of those have been done during this period. So we are still in the 340s around there. But obviously, even during this period, we have had quite a number of cases being filed, not as many as during ordinary times, because remember, we were only allowing the, the urgent matters.
Yeah.
So more have been filed during this period, and so we are still in the 350s area around there.
So if we're looking at more than 300,000, and we know so far that there's still 41 judges who have not been appointed, and the CJ spoke about this, what is the impact of that on dispensation of justice?
That remains a challenge. Especially in the environment and land courts, in the employment and labor relations courts, where we have very, very few judges. Most of our counties do not have judges in those courts. Surprisingly, in the Court of Appeal, the productivity has been quite high in spite of their 50% capacity. We are still optimistic that these 41 judges will join us soon, but we're also happy that at the magistracy level, at the lower court level, we are soon advertising for 50 magistrates and 15 cadis to enhance the capacity of the subordinate courts, which, with more hands, we should be able to dig it into the backlog.
Yeah. So what is the status of digitization? Because I know right now there was a lot of virtual sessions that were held by the court, and I'd like to know the productivity of that as well, and then measure that vis-a-vis the digitization of the entire court process, which was supposed to be done by now.
Yes, we've been operating on virtual courts, and what we have seen is a lot of efficiency gains in terms of just how much time people spend on the court corridors, in terms of how many matters a judge or a magistrate or a cadhi is able to do within a much shorter time, because you're able to do to move the files very quickly. That we have seen, and just looking at the comments that come through the various advocates forums that I happen to be in, there is a lot of positive feedback in terms of the, how the matters are being run through the virtual system. It is something that we had been working on for a long time, just trying to make sure that we have all the infrastructure and facilities in place. And that is why when the COVID started, we were able to quickly move to the virtual platforms. And we've seen that it's a way to go, really.
Yeah.
It's a way to go. I'm sure you have seen a memo that we sent earlier in the week, just indicating that starting 1st of July, all the matters in Nairobi will have to be filed through the e-platform. And through this platform, you're able to receive your file, you're able to assess court fees.
Yeah.
You're able to do the e-payment. And we see this as, something that we want to build on the gains that we've made. We don't want to go back to where we were before.
Yeah.
We want to build on that and make sure that the digitization process only gets bigger and better.
So CRJ, if the virtual sessions are proving to be more efficient, then what's the use of upscaling now? Or are you going to use them, are you going to do them concurrently? Some will be on virtual and others will be on the corridors of justice?
Remember, Trevor, that very few Kenyans have the kind of facilities that we need, the laptops, the smartphones, and all that. So we have a large population that still will need to be facilitated through the physical processes. If you look at our courts in the remote places, how many people have laptops and smartphones? So we still have to, we still have a large constituency, a large population that requires the physical appearance in court. So it is something that has to take time. We need to carry everyone along so that we also do not create an injustice to those who are not able to afford bundles and that sort of thing.
CRJ, finally from me, which cases are being prioritized now and why?
We are still just prioritizing we're prioritizing the matters that were taken out when COVID started. Remember, people had been assigned dates and their cases could not proceed. So we need to accommodate those. And then obviously the urgent cases where there is imminent danger of something going wrong. If you have an application of that nature, you will be given priority. The criminal cases, serious offenses are also being given priority.
Yeah. And do we have a sense of when the judiciary system will go completely digital, judging from where you stand?
Oh, that's difficult to tell. We still have a few years, in my view, in my assessment, because other than having a large population that cannot do not have the facilities, it's also an issue of resources. Maybe 5 years.
5 years, maybe. All right.
Yeah, maybe, so that we have it like 100%.
Okay. And finally, from the virtual sessions, do you have numbers of how many cases have been dispensed through that period?
No, the assessment is being done now. The tabulation is being done now. So, but in terms of judgments that have been delivered, cases that have been concluded, because there are those that were heard but not concluded, we are at about 15,000 cases that were dispensed with during this period. March alone, we have about 8,000. Sorry, May alone, we had about 8,000 cases.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Honorable Amadi, she's the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary. Asante sana for speaking to us this morning here on Daybreak.